The Philips CDI, with the I standing for interactive, it was released in the 90s as sort of an all-in-one digital media player where you could watch movies, view photos, and of course, play games, which in the beginning were mainly educational experiences, with some consoles even including a copy of Compton's interactive encyclopedia, which I know would really get this system to just fly off the shelves. If you're watching this channel though, you're likely more familiar with the CDI as that weird console that Mario and The Legend of Zelda somehow ended up on, as well as all of the juicy memes that came along with them.
You know what they say, all toasters toast toast.
But if instead of just viewing hilarious videos of the games on the internet, and you actually decide to try Hotel Mario or Link and the Faces of Evil for yourself, you're quickly going to realize that there was such a weird, wacky world of CDI controllers out there, and this one is the thumbstick controller. Actually has a really nice thumbstick at the top here, feels surprisingly decent, surrounded by your action buttons. Now, an important thing to note about the CDI is that it's like the NES, and that it only has two main buttons used for its games, the 1 dot button and the 2 dot button, even though you would think, based on the fact that there's 4 buttons surrounding the stick, that they might each have different functions, but no, it's actually a choice if you want to use the left or the right one of each of those. And of course, as the CDI was a video player, you got to get all those functions down there as well. Naturally, playing a game with a remote that is more modeled towards navigating DVD menus wouldn't be that comfortable, but never fear, because the CDI gamepad has you covered. This one is very much styled in the way of a Sega Genesis controller, with your D-pad and 3 buttons here, even with a turbo slider on the bottom, which is pretty cool. You'll remember though that we just mentioned there are only 2 main buttons on the CDI, and this third one here is actually a 1+2 combo button, which presses both of them at the same time. Speaking of strange CDI controllers, we certainly cannot leave out the CDI Commander, or as I call it, the Spoon Troller, because it seems like something you should be eating your cereal with. But at the top you got 1 button on each side, followed by a larger 2 button at the top, and then this thing right here, this big rubber disc, is actually the directional, which feels a little bit better than you might expect, but still not something you probably want to do too much gaming with. At the bottom though, if we remove this cover, which slides down like that, you'll see you get controls for when you're watching video. Because yeah, that's definitely what you'd want to use this remote for, more than gaming, but if you really want to, you can give it a shot. Alright everyone, what do you think of this one? It's the CDI Roller Controller. This thing is a beast, and just compare it to the Spoon Troller, which we just looked at. It's huge! I just I just can't believe that, you know, this is a CDI controller. You get this massive ball in the middle here, which actually, you know, it rolls pretty well, but you don't usually think of your rollerball controller, the ball being that big. You got buttons on each side. The underneath actually has like finger grips. You're probably going to want to place this on a table, but if you are holding it, you know, I guess it does at least have a little bit of something to hang on to there. And you would think that this big yellow thing at the top would be like a big button, but no matter how much I press it, it doesn't move at all. And I've always wondered if like some water got in there and seized it up or something, because it just doesn't make any sense. It looks exactly like the red buttons, so why doesn't that do anything? But to finally answer this question, I have found the original CDI rollerball controller commercial, which will hopefully help us get to the bottom of this.
Het is de meest aansprekende en gemakkelijkste afstandsbediening voor kinderen.
That was very informative. So, you know, I guess the kid in the commercial was kind of just mashing the red button. So if we're going to take their word for it, you know, maybe the yellow thing really is just for decoration. That's so weird. It definitely looks like a button, but yeah, the CDI roller controller. One thing you've likely noticed about the CDI controllers, especially with the gamepad, is that there is no start or select button equivalent on there. It is literally just the 1 and the 2 buttons. So why, if they were going to try to get more gaming on the CDI, they didn't anticipate that maybe 2 buttons was a little bit limiting? It really is only 1 button more than the Atari 2600 controller had, so just to put that into perspective, games like Link and the Faces of Evil would have to get creative, where to pause you would have to hold down and press 2, for example, instead of there just being a nice start button. And I think this contributes to why, no matter which CDI controller it feels like you use, your video game experience is always somewhat lacking. It just doesn't feel up to the quality of other game controllers at the time. But otherwise, yeah, that's a quick tour of some of the ways you could operate your CDI. There's many more than this. I cannot believe just how many peripherals the CDI ended up with, and hope that you enjoyed just kind of learning about some of them. Please let me know which ones you thought were cool, which ones you've maybe used in the past, which ones you think just look absolutely ridiculous, and I hope to see you next time for something different. So thanks, and take care, everyone.